For all those who don't know us, we are PEP.
Good evening. Welcome to this episode of Fresh Start Live with Fee and Pat, where the motto is, stay ready to keep from getting ready. I'm Pat.
And I'm Fee.
All right, today we have a very interesting topic, but before we get into the topic, I'd just like to put this out there. First and foremost, we are not authoritarians on anything. We are not specialists, professionals, or anything dealing with mental illness, psychotherapy, psychiatry, or anything. We're just speaking from a space of our experience and our opinions. So what are we talking about today?
Well, it's just whatever it is, it sounds pretty serious. You have to put out a disclosure like that.
Yeah.
Might as well making the audience sign some kind of waiver too.
We should. I mean, that way, if they go and do something that they shouldn't do, they can't say, I was listening to Fee and Pat.
All right, the topic today is dealing with depression.
Okay.
And what is the connection with our audience?
Well, being that the majority of our audience come from a gated community back to society, and thinking about our conversation earlier, it's kind of like that's a potential spot that you can land in upon re-entering society.
I don't have the virus. I mean, it's just my throat.
I'm immune.
So, you know what's the difference between anxiety and depression?
Yeah, I have an understanding after you explained it earlier. Explain it for our audience so they'll be on the same page.
All right, anxiety is when you have anxiety over something. And when you have the anxiety, you are a little bit hyper. You know,
Right.
you couldn't sit still. You walk back and forth. You're anticipating, and majority of the guys who get out of prison have some kind of anxiety. What I'm going to do when I get out, or how I'm going to do it, who I'm going to meet, what I'm going to accomplish. So there's a lot of high energy for it.
Okay.
But and then when some of these things can't be accomplished, or when you see a roadblock, and especially something that is outside of your control. For example, if you're looking for a job and then you got a job that paying you really well, and you wasn't anticipating child support,
Right.
and then child support came and garners half of your wages, and that anxiety gonna leading to depression.
Knock the air out of you. Yeah.
So and the reason we picked this topics is very common, and then we're seeing that a lot.
Yeah.
And
I'll say depression, just like COVID, it doesn't belong to any one person, one group of people. I think it probably has the opportunity to attach to anybody, you know, so it's a great topic that probably needs to be talked about, and I think as men probably hasn't been talked about enough. But this is a safe space.
I think the main thing is not having a conversation here is to recognize whether you have depression or how to deal with it. But it's much more important that how you create the relationship that you have with your family, with your coworker, with anybody around you, that they feel comfortable enough when they are in depression, they're going to reach out to you.
Right.
I think that's probably the most important thing. So learn to live in a way where people feel comfortable that they can come to you. Because a lot of time you only have one opportunity only.
Yeah.
And when they are depressed, of course, what are some of the signs of depression?
Low energy, isolation.
They want to sleep away, they want to eat away, they want to.
Oh, you're gonna overindulge. Yeah, overindulge in a lot of things that outside of moderation is not healthy. Yeah, like sleeping, eating, drinking, drugging.
So if you don't have a good relationship with that person, he's not going to reach out to you,
Right.
right? And a lot of time, if you do have some kind of relationship, you probably going to have only very, very small window of opportunity to address it.
Yeah. And you know the flip side of that coin, though, he may not reach out to you, but you may not even be able to identify it because you don't have that relationship. So you don't really know the person, or you may not even feel comfortable talking to the person if you don't have that relationship to where you know that person. And it's important.
So for me, is to recognize depression is not based on experience, or it's more like your empathy,
Yeah.
right? If you feel somebody, if you see somebody who wouldn't get out of bed, always stay in and just eat or sleep.
Yeah.
If you're very judgmental, you would probably get rid of that person, or you don't want to have anything to do with that because you don't want to waste your time, right? But dealing with that person on empathy, you'll be able to address it. Not really addressing it. You be I guess a soundboard. You would be there for that person just to talk to you.
And for most people dealing in depression, that's the main thing they need. They don't need somebody to give them a solution. They need to know that I have a voice of reason. That's like myself. I dealt with depression, and it probably still try to come up sometime to the point to where I have a therapist, and was diagnosed with depression. But you have those conversations, you work your way through it, but you still find yourself sometime where you're not sleeping well, you're not doing a lot of things where you're not taking care of yourself health-wise, that you can open the door for depression to come in as well. Kind of like I was reading earlier, and they was talking about how even a change in the season creates depression in people because the energy gets low. So, it's a lot of things that we probably overlook in our associates and our friends and our family when it comes to this depression thing, because we feel like depression is supposed to look like this. So another interesting thing that I found out about depression that I didn't know. So postpartum, did you know that affect men as well?
No, I didn't know that.
So in my studies, so why they say it impacts men is because something about our system about reproducing. And it's kind of like after a child is born, our system is in a place where that's not it. So our system starts doing all this old kind of stuff with our hormones, and it was kind of crazy. But I'll have to send it to you and let you listen to it. I was kind of like, okay.
So my wife went through it when we have our first, second child, and so dealing with it is like I'm feeling very vulnerable in that area because there's nothing I could do.
Right.
It's like she's so depressed that she doesn't want to eat. She got really, really skinny, and it's just I say, what? How can you do this to yourself? It's so easy to eat. Why don't you just eat? And she said, it doesn't taste right. Nothing tastes right. She don't want to eat.
You don't have the energy for it, because I think they said something about there's a imbalance in the neutron movers or something about your dopamine and your saffron or something. They get out of whack when depression is alive, and it's kind of like it affects eating, it affects sleeping, it affects how we feel, and it's kind of like, okay, things you never think about. So,
Well, I know somebody who take ecstasy or cooking meth. I bet you they can explain all that to you.
let's not.
No, because that's what those guys face all the time, because to feel good, they have to take some kind of medication so they can release these endorphin
Yeah.
that make you feel good. But once your brain release all of these already, and then you don't have that chemical anymore. There's nothing left to release. And then after you feeling good, and then you go through the period of feeling really, really bad. They call like, the depression part of
Right.
it. So the people who get depression is because their brain does not release enough of those things. But I think that was just some scientific stuff. But I think the most important thing in what we talk about is don't get rid of those people when you're seeing that whether you think they're lazy,
Yeah.
or you think they just gluttony, overeating, or they stop eating, or they sleep too much, or they wouldn't get up and go do something. If you're just investing a few minutes of your time, you can make the difference.
And I think that's also something else that a lot of families, the difference between, say, a guy who's just been released and go home to his family, as opposed to a guy who released and come into a community with other released guys. To the family, this guy's had 10 doors closed in his face to say no. But he had high expectations. He was going to get a job, or he was going to accomplish something in a period of time. It didn't happen. And before long, once you feel like you've been kicked so many times, your energy is gone. To the family looking at that, the first thing they might say is he's lazy and he's become a burden. Because depression wasn't the first thing they thought about when they looking at the person who came home and the person now. But for somebody who's in the community with them, they'll be able to recognize the difference between this guy is going through something, or this guy, he just don't want to do nothing. So I think that's also why it's good to have people around you who know you or have seen what you're going through to be able to walk through that with you.
So what are our key takeaways from this conversation right here, if you had to summarize this?
Number one, I would say make sure that you're in a healthy community of people who know you, where there's a vessel of trust, because I think that's specific, something that needs to be present, is a vessel of trust.
So talking about in the community, most people think when they're on Facebooks or a social network, when they send a message out or tweet, they have a bunch of people respond to it. Is that a community?
That's not. So one of the things I always tell people, you'll never know me by watching me on social media, because all you get is my personality. That's not me. So know me off of social media.
So a community you're talking about is get together with some people, right?
Yeah, these are people who know you at your worst, but like you anyway.
Is it how often you have to meet?
I mean, I don't know that there's any set amount of time that you have to have, but it's one of those situations where you probably have seen this a million times, where people haven't talked to each other in 2 years, but when they come together, it's like the conversation had never ended. And I mean, you're in a community where, like I say, people know you at your worst. People know everything about you, know who you are, to where you don't have to come in and be superficial or be somebody you're not, because they've already accepted you for who you are. Be with people who not afraid to hit you in your chest, but at the same time, when your light go dim, they willing to stand beside you and let you have some of their shine and get some light off of their little old wick. It's about support,
So number one is community. What's the other one?
I would think transparency, but I would have probably lumped transparency in the community with the vessel of trust. Group of people.
I would say be more empathy and less judgmental
No,
in dealing with people.
no.
All right. So I think everybody make mistake. If we judging everybody or making sure the people around us doing all the right thing, and then we have all the fake people around us, because there isn't a perfect person walking around.
Yeah, and if people feel like that's what you expect from them, they're not going to be around you anyway.
Yeah, and they won't open up to you.
Yeah. Because if they feel like, you know what, I can't mess up. If I mess up, they're going to throw me away. He's going to throw me away. Yeah. And yeah, that's something to think about, that community, to where you do have a community of empathy, a community of understanding, a community of embracing, a community of, okay, so you messed up, what's next? Not what happened, what's next? You know, I think that's important, extremely important.
So if you and I wasn't working together, what do you think that keep our relationship going?
We go through sleepless night, but I think the fact that we can have conversations, and that I feel like no matter what conversation I have with you, after the fact, we're going to be okay. We still going to be all right. You're not going to judge me any differently than you did prior to the conversation that we had. The relationship time, yeah, I say the time and the consistency of the time. Because I know I done did a bunch of knucklehead stuff, and you never judged me. You probably called me genius a couple times, but you know, but yeah.
I know it's a somber topic that we talk about today, but I guess it's appropriate because, you know, it's the holiday, and then, you know, with all this COVID flared ups, and with all of, you know, hearing other people commit suicide because of depression, so we brought this topic up.
You know, personally, two people that I know are probably the most in tune when it comes to people and the psyche of people. One, it was their grandson. The other was their nephew. Committed suicide within a 2-day period. Mm-hmm. And for those two people to have not seen what led to that, and they're in tune, their livelihood is based upon knowing people and observing people, but for them not to have seen that, it's kind of like, we all, you know, need to be, I guess, more intentional in our involvement with one another.
Well, this time you want to thanks the people who are stay involved with us.
Yes, sir. Of course, we got Michael Devers. What's up, bro? Good to see you again. Donald Jones, J Mo, XCOM Fitness. There was somebody else at the top, wasn't it?
Max.
Oh, Max Hahn. Yeah, Max Hahn. Max, you gotta love Max. Max, we need to get you on the show. Thank you, brothers, for coming and hanging out with us, staying down with us week after week. Y'all make this worth doing it. So want to update a little bit?
So what's the update with PEP from inside?
So from the inside, we're still navigating the pandemic. So in Cleveland, of course, we canceled all in-prison events, so they weren't able. Sandro, we see you, bro. They weren't able to do their event last week. But, you know, we in our spirit of stay ready, keep them getting ready, we can't let that stop us. So we're prepping the guys to get ready for a virtual BPC, which prior to that, we're gonna do a virtual pitch off to where we're gonna select who's going to the next round. Inside, 25% of the guys are on lockdown. The other 75% are bringing in servant leaders to help them, you know, become part of their team, to be consultants on their team. So it's still going. As far as S's, we've been able to send them paperwork, but we haven't had interaction with them because they're completely on lockdown until the 21st. So
that would be like a whole month lockdown.
Yeah, so what happened, they started out with one pod that was down to the 14th, and then they had other people testing positive, and it came down to where they say, you know what, we're just gonna lock everybody down to the 14th, which is crazy. But
Was David able to go inside the unit?
David still can go in. He can go into the unit. He's actually gone down to pass papers under the doors to the guys and give them instructions, so. Yeah.
Shooting kite everywhere.
Shooting kites, yeah.
Okay.
Passing contraband.
All right. For outside, you can see still an empty room. Man, I hope that they hurry up so we have something changing in the background.
Yeah, we need a
but
lift or something
unfortunately,
in there.
we in this 45 days period of waiting for the city to approve our plan. And once that happens, hammer will be flying around pretty quick.
Yeah, this room look like it's ready for that. It's kind of quiet, but I mean, just remember the before so you can appreciate the afterwards.
All right, so the survey that we did last time, there was a lot of interesting thing came back. You know, we have about 90 of the guys who responded want to come to PEP to do the eSchool 200,
Okay.
which is helping them prepare to start a business, or helping the guys who already have a business prepare to start a new product, a new service. And so 80 of those guys are, they signed up for it. I mean, they raised their hand, they're interested in it, and they want to hear more.
Cool.
And then we have about 40 guys who already have business and want to compete in
B2B?
B2B. It's going to be in Dallas in September.
Well, all right. All righty. Max, who you want to mentor? So we
Actually,
are,
I have a question to ask you.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we always want to improve ourselves, right? And we're talking about starting second stream, third stream of income. I know we have an episode on that.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do this year?
Vending machines. So I'm part of a group. Actually, it's not a group. It's just myself, a brother, and his wife. We're in the process of getting 8 vending machines that we're going to put to work. So we've already taken care of the part of purchasing the vending machines. What we're working on now is who's going to do what. Who's going to find the wholesaler for the product. Who's going to replenish, and creating routes.
Can we do a chronological story about that every week? You update us a little bit what y'all do?
Yeah, we
Okay.
can do that.
All right.
Bring some video footage, some pictures or something. Yeah.
Oh, free advertisement.
Free advertisement. Yeah, so y'all get ready. Y'all get ready. It's gonna go down. But yeah, so we're starting out with junk food, of course. You know, sodas, energy drinks, high sugar content juices. But you know, going forward, I want to get away from the snacks period and put other products in. So I've kind of committed to doing this with them for 6 months. Because I just feel like that there's other avenues that you can put other stuff in vending machines. So.
All right. That's wrapped up this episode.
All right, fellas, again, we thank y'all for joining us, man. Great conversation. My energy is down, so I got to go and drink me a cup of coffee to get my energy back up. Remember, we're on a mission, man, to celebrate 1 million stories. We're getting closer and closer by the day. Also remember that freedom demands responsibility, responsibility demands accountability. So until we meet you guys again next week.
All right. See y'all next week.
With energy.